What's going on, guys? It's Cooper Codes, and in this video, I'm going to be discussing the off-season of internships. So right now we're in April, and a significant majority of tech companies are completely done with recruiting for the summer 2022 season. So whether you unfortunately didn't land an internship, maybe you landed an internship but you want to get a better one next summer, this video is kind of discussing how to use this kind of off-season to your advantage when trying to get that next internship. So why is the off-season even important in the first place? Its main reason why it's so important is it allows you to excel at LeadCode skills, and it allows your resume to be the best it can be as soon as these companies open up their applications. So let's start talking about your plan for the off-season. I think a great first thing to do is to go to levels.fyi/internships. It will show you some of the top internships and will also show you the pay for these internships. Make a list of the companies that interest you. If you don't have a bunch of crazy experience in your past, it might just be every single company, and that's totally okay. Making this list of companies allows you to see what you're shooting at. Are you trying to get into this type of company? Are you trying to get into a high frequency trading company, or are you trying to get into an AI company? What type of concepts do you need to understand for these interviews? A lot of interviews are just going to be LeadCode, and fair enough. But there are some more niche companies that require math and statistics like high frequency trading, or some AI concepts for AI automation type companies. You can get a good idea of these interview processes by just looking on Reddit and Glassdoor. Honestly, just Google the name of the company, Glassdoor, interview questions for internships or something. You will probably find a resource for any company that's pretty large out there. All right, it's time to talk LeadCode. In this video, I'm not going to go super in depth on LeadCode concepts or what patterns you should be studying or give you a study plan, for example. I'm just going to be discussing the importance of understanding LeadCode questions during your off-season. LeadCode should be 70% of your off-season preparation, in my opinion. It should be a huge part. As much as social skills, previous experience, even making the best resume you've ever seen in your entire life plays a role, once your resume gets past the screen, you're most likely to go into a LeadCode interview with these top tech companies. So my advice on LeadCode is to make a plan during the off-season. Just set a date. Set a date by when you want to be LeadCode prepared for the companies in your list. And what does that mean? Some companies, they ask easy to medium questions. Some companies, they ask medium to hard questions. And so once you get a good idea of what these interview processes are like, you want to set a LeadCode plan that's going to set you up to answer those types of questions consistently. And to give some positive energy out there, if you unfortunately didn't land an internship for this upcoming summer, it is a great opportunity to get really good at these interview questions. If you were either a freshman or a sophomore and you didn't land an internship, you just didn't luck out, it happens. And honestly, it sucks, but it's totally okay because now you're gonna have a year more of experience on your schooling background. It's gonna make you more competitive amongst other candidates, and you might actually get some interviews you're not expecting for this next round. And so the one thing you can control in that situation is LeadCode, and do what you can. If you did happen to get an internship for this upcoming summer, congratulations, but you're also gonna realize that if you want a better internship for the next summer, you're probably going to have to try and fit in some type of LeadCode preparation alongside your full-time work. This is about 10,000% easier said than done. Working your first software job, you want to make sure that you get a great reputation at the company, you make a lot of connections, and you do good work. And hopefully you're doing work that you find interesting and you're actually learning a lot. So put a huge emphasis on that, of course. But a critical part of working full-time is that if you want that next level internship, you might have to work a little harder on the LeadCode stuff in your free time. Because if you have completely empty days because you have no internship, yeah, the LeadCode process is hopefully going to be a little bit easier to study for. If you have to work a full-time job and you're trying to get high frequency trading next summer, yeah, good luck. It's going to be a difficult process and you're going to have to make some sacrifices, unfortunately. But this is why the off-season is so important, is because if you want that high frequency trading internship, for example, I'm just using that as an example, whatever company it is, you're way better off doing that preparation during the off season versus when you're at school, when you're with your friends, and then the Citadel interview comes through and you're just completely effed. You got to prepare like crazy, doing concepts you didn't look at before, and maybe at the time you can only really solve LeadCode easies. Good luck. And so this is just giving you perspective as to what you need to be prepared for when it comes to these internship cycles. That's kind of why I'm making this video, is the off season so important when it comes to being prepared. so many interviews that are at great companies kind of come out of left field for so many different candidates. And it sucks to see candidates get an interview at a company. They're like, whoa, Google's interviewing me? I'm from a state school. I wasn't expecting that. Too bad. If you're not prepared for the interview, you might get messed up in the interview process, which is the worst part to see. So I'm just putting a huge emphasis on that preparation. And so although this isn't going to be a super LeadCode centric video, I'm going to put some companies. I'm going to edit them in here, a bunch of logos. These are like LeadCode preparation companies that I've heard really good things about, but I will just make this side note. You do not need to spend money on this stuff, okay? There is the Blind 75, which is a great set of LeadCode questions. If you study that super effectively, trying to understand the questions as best as you can, you are probably 90% prepared. These services are just if you have a little bit of money in your pocket and you're looking to spend it on preparation and you think it will make your life easier, go for it. There's also that psychology thing that's, I don't want to start a debate in the comments, okay? But there is some psychology behind making that $100 investment, and then it's going to make you be like, should I be lead coding right or not right now? Well, I did spend $100 on that thing, so maybe I should. I'm not saying that's going to make the service better, but there is psychology behind that, making that initial investment, showing it's important. So whatever you decide to do, use one of these services. They're great. Or just use LeadCode. But make sure to use Blind 75 or something like that, where the questions are in categories, so you can study one category at a time. For example, get good at linked list questions, get good at graph questions, and then you can kind of do one category at a time to build a more fundamental knowledge around those questions. All right, so that's enough LeadCode talk for this video. I'm going to be discussing some other things that are probably more fun you should be doing in your off season. A super important concept here is your resume. You want to get a super clear idea of what your resume should be. Maybe look for resume templates. There's a website called overleaf.com that I'll link in the comments. Super amazing resume templates, and it uses this thing called latex, which pretty much allows the resume to be formatted super nicely. I've seen so many resumes that are in like some just totally destroyed Word thing that are just like not good looking, and it's like, hey man, I don't care how many times you tell me this looks good, the margins are off and it's just weird. Find a regular format like on LaTeX because it does it for you through code, which is amazing. Make sure that your bullet points in your resume are on point. Get it reviewed by someone. Send it to your classmates. They're going to be like, why are you sending me your resume in the summer? And just be like, I don't care, dude. Take a look at it, right? Make sure your resume is in the best shape it can be in before it gets sent out to those first couple of interviews, right? And so that resume work can be done during the off season. It's also super important to note that if you're going to an internship this summer, make sure to talk to your manager about things you might want to put on your resume or things that you want to like clear for your resume. I've had to do this multiple times, and you guys would be surprised how open and receptive managers are to discussing what you should be putting on your resume. I was at a company and I literally opened up an internal Google Doc and I just made bullet points, and my manager looked over them, made sure they were good, and he was totally fine with knowing that this stuff's going to my resume. I'm in my career. The company's not going to take that personally. And if your manager is a cool person, they want what's best for you. And maybe it's not that tech company. Maybe it's just a product you're not interested in. They want the best for you. And they're not going to be like, why are you trying to leave? Or why are you asking for this? Nah, they will most likely be on your side. So just go ahead, ask them for the best information, and they might even give you some advice on how to make those bullet points more impressive, which is actually what happened to me. So, all right, so at this point in the video, you should be a LeadCode master with an impeccable resume. Those are the two main things that are going to make you an impressive candidate. Whether or not, people like that, that's kind of reality. Good LeadCode skills, good resume will get you very far. So now I'm going to discuss some important things you can do during the off season when it comes to networking. If you have that original list of companies that you're interested in interviewing for, I would recommend looking up those companies on LinkedIn and trying to find if any of your school alumni go to those schools. I don't go to an amazing school, and so whenever I've heard this advice on YouTube in the past, I was like, you're an idiot. No one at my school is a software engineer at DoorDash or something, right? Like, if you go to Berkeley or something, yeah, you might have like 30 alumni on there, probably more, right? But from my school, not so much. But there are people at some companies, and so just see if there's anyone there. Even if there isn't, just reach out to random people. Reach out to whoever you want and just try and find people and be like, hey, I saw you're at a company. I think the work you're doing is super interesting. I saw that on your LinkedIn, it says you're on the Maps team or something. Talk about that. You're probably not going to have a super high hit rate, but here's the thing. If you're direct messaging these people during the off season, you have a much better chance than everyone who just saw Google's application open up and then be like, oh, I got to find everyone at my school and like message them right now. Terrible strategy, because that's when everyone else is going to message them. If you're in the off season, it's the middle of the summer, you know, when you're working full time, you don't get a summer off like you do at school, right? So these guys are just working full time, and they're probably going to be receptive to a message from like some random kid who's like, yo, I saw your job. It seems interesting. Can we talk about it? And he might be like, hey, sure. No one else is messaging me right now. And so that's a great way to build some connections early on. And so be like, hey, we talked like 5 months ago and I see you're still working at DoorDash. Can you give me with that referral though? They're probably going to say yes. They saw you're cool and they saw you didn't just reach out to them right when the application opened, which makes you a better candidate in their eyes. This is something I feel like people should say in these videos. Networking can be genuine, and I actually have a great example in my own personal networking. Is I worked on the PagerDuty Events API team, and we use a programming language called Elixir. I saw that Discord handles all text messages, so if you've ever sent a message on Discord, they handle it using an Elixir service. And I was like, that is so cool. And I saw one of the engineers who wrote about Elixir at Discord on like a tech blog somewhere. I reached out to him on LinkedIn and I was like, yo, I know the Elixir stuff, man. I've been on the teams. I've seen it all. Not really. I was an intern, but I've seen some cool stuff. And I was like, that is so cool how you guys are using Elixir internally at Discord. And he actually messaged me back and he was like, hey, it's cool to see another Elixir guy, reach out to me whenever. And so that was like a super cool kind of genuine thing where I reached out to him because I actually had a question about one of the tech blogs he wrote about Discord messages. So this just goes to show that if you have some experience in a certain thing, and maybe you're looking at tech blogs, listen, I'm a nerd. I'm not going to try and avoid that. I'm looking at Discord, tech blogs and Elixir stuff. Okay, right? But if you ever just happen to come across something in software engineering and you see a name, find them on LinkedIn and just send them a message, say that you found what they had to say. Super interesting. This is just a great example of like genuine networking where it's like, I genuinely did gain an interest in Elixir, for example, and I genuinely would want to work on an Elixir team in the future. It's just a good example. Whatever it is for your situation is going to be different. All right, I'm sneaking this concept in at the end, but personal projects, they're important. I don't care what you got to say about it. Yes, if you have experience, they become way less important, like 0. And some people, they kind of get lucky. They get that first interview. Maybe they're really great at LeadCode, so they pass it and they didn't have a project. And then you hear about it on Reddit for about 13 years where they're like, I didn't do a project, and so it doesn't matter at all. Give me a break. I really dislike this idea that personal projects mean nothing. If you have no experience, and especially if you go to a school that isn't great, just make a project. It's like, it is one of the best ways to stand out amongst candidates, even at your school, but just nationally. If you make a really cool project, people will be like, damn, that's a really cool project. It's like, that's kind of how it goes. And it's like, oh, you use MongoDB to make that? We use MongoDB. Oh, for real? You're using like, an Elixir service? Oh, we use that too. It just gives you so many things to talk about. Like, I don't understand this weird like anti-project mindset. If you literally have nothing on your resume, you're going to walk into your interview. And as soon as it gets to the more like behavioral type questions, it's like, you ever worked on something or you ever had to learn a programming language? And you're just like, yeah, I had to learn something for school once. Weak answer. It's unfortunate, but it's not what they want to hear. It's like, and that's like a fine answer. Like if that's true, then thank you for being honest. But if you can be like, yeah, I learned C++ for school, but in my free time, I learned JavaScript and I learned React and I learned all these cool things. They're going to be like, oh, what made you choose React over Angular? And you're like, I don't know, something about React versus Angular. And then it shows, oh, this guy knows his stuff. These personal projects can just really enhance you in a way that where it's like, first of all, it buffs your resume. It gives you something to write. And it also just shows that you're legitimately passionate about software engineering. And that legitimate software engineering passion is something that these top tech companies really value. So that's something that's really important to show on your resume. All right, guys, so I'm kind of wrapping up this video. Hopefully it's been informative for how you should be using this current internship off season that we're in. I think that by making a plan in your off season, getting really great at LeadCode, creating a really great resume, and then possibly having projects and a great network outside of that, you are going to be an outstanding candidate for the summer 2023 internship cycle. So hopefully this video has exposed you to the different types of things you should be aware of in your off season and kind of makes your life a little bit better so you're not that guy who gets a Facebook interview and crams for 2 weeks and fails all his classes. Not talking from experience. But seriously, it's important to understand that the off season can be used productively, and it's not some weird like try-hardy concept. I actually bring up the off season because I think it's a way to make your life more balanced. All right, so all the normal stuff, make sure to like and subscribe. I plan on doing more career-oriented videos just like this. As you guys see, I got the camera all set up and I got my mic here, so I'm planning on doing more stuff, like more direct. What does a LeadCode plan look like? What does a resume plan look like? How you should network. There are some great networking tips, especially like some like LinkedIn hacks. So I'm going to go into all that in detail alongside this kind of personal project type, actually learning how to program, actually learning JavaScript, actually learning React, all this different type of stuff I have on my channel. So if you're interested in that type of content, feel free to subscribe. And if this video helped you, feel free to like. All right. Thanks so much for watching.